Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Social Work, SOSW, Certificate Programs, Certificate in Social Work and Criminal Justice System, CSWCJS, MSW 031 Social Work Intervention in Correctional Settings, Block-1 Understanding Social Work as a Profession, Unit 3 Social Work in Correctional Settings, 3.0 Objectives. In this unit, you shall be introduced to the field of correctional system in India. By the end of the unit, you should be able to explain what is a correctional setting, describe the various types of correctional institutions in India, highlight the correctional services available to inmates in various correctional settings, and evaluate the role of professional social worker in correctional settings. 3.1 Introduction. Human beings in any society are expected to follow certain rules and regulations in order to maintain peace, law and order. Restrictions and limits are placed on human behavior in the form of formal rules, legislations, written laws and institutional structure. People who violate these formal means are identified, charged and sentenced according to procedure laid down by law. This formal mechanism to control crime is called criminal justice system. The criminal justice system is designed to control crime and contribute towards a safe and orderly society. Criminal justice system in India consists of four primary components: the police, prosecutions, the courts and corrections. The correctional services have existed from time immemorial with varying purpose and use. The philosophy behind correctional service lies in the fact that the inmates who would be lodged there would be reformed through various kinds of training so that the inmate is ultimately able to reintegrate successfully in the larger society after his release from the correctional setting. Social work plays a vital role in this aspect. In this unit, we shall familiarize you with the concepts of corrections. We shall also discuss the role of social worker in various types of correctional settings in India. 3.2 Definition and philosophy behind correction. Correction is one segment of the criminal justice system. A person who is accused of any crime is either convicted or acquitted by the court. Persons who are convicted by court are lodged in a correctional setting. A person who is undergoing trial in the court may also be lodged in a correctional setting by order of the court. Thus, a correctional institution or setting is a place where a person accused of or convicted of a crime is lodged for a specified period of time. Traditionally, the approach towards crime control was guided by the concepts of deterrence, retribution, and offender incapacitation. Deterrence refers to the various measures taken to prevent crime. Retribution means punishing someone for the wrongdoing. Offender incapacitation refers to the act of making an individual incapable of committing a crime. These ideologies of crime control have been gradually replaced by a diversified framework of reintegrative correctional strategies. These strategies intend to assist the release inmates in their transition back into the mainstream society. The whole focus is on reshaping the behaviors of the convicted offenders with the following goals: DOR 2008, I. Protection of society against crime. 2. Develop a sense of discipline and security. 3. Reform and rehabilitate them in the given social milieu through appropriate correctional interventions. And 4. Equip with skills and abilities in order to help them lead a normal life as a citizen once they get out of the correctional institution. To fulfill the above objectives, various kinds of reintegrative services are offered within a correctional setting. These services include inmate care and welfare, vocational training programs, inmate family contact, self-discipline incentives such as remissions, leaves, transfer to open institutions, parole, etc. Thus, the inmate within a correctional setting would be involved in various kinds of productive activities. This will enable in reducing prison subculture contamination, which is manifested in numerous undesirable activities that are associated with prison life. Further, certain categories of inmates who endanger public safety are segregated from the mainstream society by way of imprisonment. Thus, putting a person in a correctional setting deprives him/her of liberty and self-determination. However, all possible efforts are taken to ensure that the person come out as better individuals than that they were at the time of their admission. With this objective, the Honorable Supreme Court of India, in its various judgments, has reiterated the following principles. Dhar 2008. A person in a correctional setting does not become a non-person. 2. A person in prison is entitled to all human rights within the limitations of imprisonment. And 3. There is no justification in aggravating the suffering already inherent in the process of incarceration. 3.3 Types of correctional setting. Correctional institutions are fragmented on the basis of a number of factors. Main sources of fragmentation are as follows. Dhar 2008. By jurisdiction. A. Central. B. State. C. Local. By criminal justice function. A. Police. B. Courts. C. Corrections. By location. A. Institutional. B. Non-institutional. By age. A. Adult. B. Juvenile. By other factors. A. Size of operation. B. Sex of offender. C. Type of offense. D. Special program. All these fragments come under one master classification, which is statutory and non-statutory. Statutory is the category covered under Indian Penal Code and other laws. Correctional work with adult prisoners comes under this category, wherein minor prisoners are sent to welfare homes. Other statutory ones come under social legislations like Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children, Act 2000, Immoral Trafficking Prevention, Act 1956, and Bombay Prevention of Begging Act 1959. In this unit, we will cover the following correctional settings. 1. Correctional institutions set up under the Prisons Act, 1894. 2. Correctional institutions set up under the Juvenile Justice, Care Protection of Children, Act 2003. Correctional institutions set up under the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956. 4. Correctional institutions set up under the Bombay Prevention of Beggary Act, 1959. 3.4 Correctional institutions set up under the Prisons Act, 1894. The Prisons Act, 1894 governs the administration and management of prisons in India. The Constitution assigns custody and correction of criminals to the states and territories. The Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, is responsible for the administration of prisons in India. The day-to-day administration of prisons in all the states and union territories of India are governed by the respective prison manuals containing rules, regulations, orders and the various amendments which are inserted on a regular basis. The day-to-day administration of prisoners rests on principles incorporated in the Prisons Act 1894, the Prisoners Act of 1900 and the Transfer of Prisoners Act of 1950. An Inspector General of Prisons administers prison affairs in each state and territory. Since their inception, the prisons have been used for detention and incarceration of offenders, men, women and children. Manusmriti talks about imprisonment as one method of punishment along with others like fine and corporal punishment. Arthashastra by Chanakya prescribes incarceration as a chief mode of punishment, besides fine. Later, with the advent of Muslim rule in India, punishment of imprisonment was provided besides other modes like public humiliation. Till this time, the use of prison for incarceration was minimal. With the advent of British rule, the law related to penal offences was codified as chief mode of punishment under Indian Penal Code. The chief objective of punishment was to deter the would-be offenders rather than any reformation. The prisons were based on the principles of retribution, expiation, and deterrence, and therefore were punitive in character. However, in modern times, with the growth of knowledge about criminal behavior, the ideas of retribution have been replaced by the reformation and social rehabilitation of offenders. Thus, the correctional services now emphasize on re-education of offenders and aftercare. Within the limitation of disciplinary control and the deprivation of civic liberty imposed by the fact of his/her conviction, Tiwari 2002. Prison structure. According to the prison statistics, 2007, there are a total of 1276 jails in the country. There are several tiers or jails in the country. The most common and standard types of jails are the central jails, district jail, and the sub-jails. Other facilities include women's jails, borstal schools, open jails, special jails, lockups and temporary jails. Central jails house offenders who serve a long-term sentence. These jails have larger capacities with proper rehabilitation facilities. District jails are situated in a district, having a low capacity to house prison inmates with minimum facilities for rehabilitation. Inmates serving a shorter term of punishment or bail detainees are housed in the district jail. Sub-jails are situated at the subdivisional headquarters in different states, having smaller capacities than that of a central or a district jail. Offenders sentenced to imprisonment up to 3 months are housed in a sub-jail. A sub-jail is affiliated with and subordinate to a district or central jail. Borstal school house young offenders in the age group of 12 to 18 years. The aim of Borstal School is to segregate young offenders from adult offenders and protect them from any kind of exploitation or being influenced by adult offenders. There are 12 states in India having Borstal schools. Young offenders in the rest of the states, where there is no Borstal school, are housed in children's home established under the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2000. Open jails are essentially prisons without walls. Prison inmates who display sufficiently good behavior and satisfy some norms prescribed by the prison rules are eligible to be referred to an open jail. These facilities have minimum security and inmates are trained in agriculture. Inmates are also allowed to go to the community, work and come back again after their work period. There are 13 states having open prisons. Special jails are meant to confine the following particular classes of prisoners. I. Prisoners who have committed serious violations of prison discipline. 2. Prisoners showing tendencies towards violence and aggression. 3. Difficult discipline cases of habitual offenders. 4. Difficult discipline cases from a group of professional organized criminals. There are 9 states in India having special jails. Correctional services. Various kinds of correctional services are available to the prisoners to facilitate post-release reintegration to the larger society. A. Education is an ongoing activity inside the prison. B. Vocational training and employment opportunity. These training programs provide opportunities for the prison inmates to engage themselves in fruitful pursuits during the term of their sentence in jails. Training for prison inmates not only affords value for one's work but also makes the prisoners learn skills which would enable them to follow a vocation after their release from the jail. C. Healthcare services. D. Prisoner panchayats. E. Aftercare of released prisoners. Correctional programs in prisons in nearly all parts of the globe show a significant trend towards specialization, diversification, and experimentation. Another important trend is the substitution of the individualized treatment to prisoners based on their reformative requirements for the earlier doctrine of equal punishment for same crime, individualization. The third major trend in prison administration involves an attempt to reduce the social barrier between inmates of the correctional institutions and the civilian community. There is also increasing interest in the possibility that the society or groups of prisoners can be utilized for therapeutic purposes. Group therapy and other devices aimed at increasing inmates' participation in the routine affairs of prison administration are designed to reduce the barrier between the society and the administrative policy and to give the inmates desired degree of self-esteem and confidence. Dhar 2008. Tihar prisons have a history of reformation programs in tune with the current correctional philosophy. Education, cultural activities, vocational activities, and moral education, etc., have been going on in Tihar jails for a long time as a part of the efforts of the prison administration for reformation of the prisoners. In the last 10 years, the process has accelerated and received worldwide attention. The reformation package, tried out by the Delhi Prison Administration, is popularly termed as New Delhi Correctional Model, the basic characteristics of which are Dhar 2008, I. Bringing the community into the prison, 2. Formation of a self-sufficient community of prisoners, 3. Participative management. This model strikes a balance between the approaches of privatization of prison administration and the halfway houses. The New Delhi Correctional Model has been presented and discussed in Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Branch at UNO, Vienna and other international and national conferences. It has been deeply appreciated role of social workers in prisons, although various types of correctional services are already available to prison inmates. Professional social worker can play a vital role in a prison setting. Social workers in correctional facilities provide two types of services: supportive services within the institution and connections to resources in the community. Within a correctional facility, social work services might be utilized in the areas of mental health, substance abuse, education, and vocational rehabilitation. This calls for a deeper understanding of the prison environment and offender better by the social worker. Initiatives such as diversion, community services, parole, probation, correctional supervision, and the conversion of imprisonment sentences to those of a community-based treatment should be explored to minimize reoffending or recidivism. Specifically, a professional social worker can play the following roles in a prison setting. 1. Case work with individuals. Social work practitioners should acknowledge and respond to the real environmental and emotional crisis that can be created by incarceration. Each offender has the capacity to grow and develop to be a constructive member of the family, community, and society. Prisoners are responsible for their behavioral change. A central component of valuing the individual is recognizing the individual in relation to their family and community. Social workers challenge attitudes and behaviors which result in crime and cause distress or harm to victims and others. Casework treatment in institutional settings relies heavily upon efforts toward role adaptation in the client and role adjustment in the primary groups, of which both the client and the persons who referred him are his members. In the correctional field, the probation officer interprets the delinquent's behavior to the judge and to the police officers. The caseworker studies and assesses the combination of internal and external forces that directed the prisoner into criminal mode of behavior. The caseworker has ready access to those who define the social role of inmate and who observe the client's daily role performance. In such institutional settings, the caseworker is part of the world to which he is trying to help the client adapt more satisfactorily. 2. Probation. Probation is derived from Latin word which means to test or to prove. It is developed as custodial alternative which is used where guilt is established, but it is considered that imposing of a prison sentence would do no good. The court may order the release on probation of good conduct if it is convinced that no previous conviction is proved against him, and with regards to age, sex, and antecedents of the offender. The offender is required to enter into a bond with or without sureties to appear and receive sentence when called up, and in the meantime to keep the peace and be of good behavior. Imprisonment decreases his capacity to readjust to the normal society after release, and association with professional delinquents often has undesired effects. During probation, the probationer lives in the community. He regulates his own life under conditions imposed by court or other constituted authority and is subjected to supervision by a probation officer. Compensation. Release on admonition, probation, imposition of fines, community services are a few such techniques used. Probation in India mostly depends on the policy of the state. Aftercare program has been set up to improve the lives of those released on probation. Large numbers of social workers are also employed as probation or parole officers. Probation officers provide case management and supportive services to individuals who have been offered a suspended sentence or probation as an alternative to incarceration. Parole officers provide case management and other social services to offenders who have been granted early release from prison. Social workers in these positions may provide crisis intervention services and referral for education, vocational, counseling, and substance abuse services. DOR 2008. Some state laws also require that a member of the parole board be a social worker or someone with social service expertise. Significant numbers of social workers provide community-based services through private social service agencies that have contracts with public corrections agencies. These social workers work closely with corrections staff to provide counseling, outreach and tracking, and school-based prevention programs. 3. Aftercare. The term aftercare refers to the program and services organized for the rehabilitation of inmates from correctional institution. It can be used to refer to the program and services organized to complete the process of rehabilitation of socially and physically handicapped individual or group which have been begun and carried up to a particular stage in an institution. DOR 2008. The social worker can play an important role in identifying post-release employment opportunities and network with other organizations in order to help the inmate reintegrate into the society. A number of aftercare programs are being run by the government with the help of non-governmental organizations, NGOs, which are acting as a bridge between the prisoners and the community. These services are offered to the prisoners on their release. The prison departments are also providing toolkits of trades to released prisoners to achieve self-employment. Prison welfare officer also helps released prisoners in availing grant or loan under various development schemes. In certain states, halfway homes have also been set up especially for women prisoners who are facing problems of rehabilitation. 4. Group work among the substance abusers. A large number of prison inmates end up in the prison as a result of drug trafficking. Many times they themselves are addicted to drugs and find it difficult to cope with the sudden abstinence within the prison walls. Social workers can play a major role in helping the drug addicts deal with the situation through group work. The social worker emphasizes on abstinence from the substance alcohol and tries to motivate the inmate regarding the benefits of de-addiction. The social worker can also monitor the treatment drugs prescribed by the medical doctor in the prison. The first phase of the group work usually has highly structured and well-planned sessions with clear objectives. After a few sessions, an interactive approach can be used. Most of the activities are focused on here and now activities. Activity-based program like those needing movement of the body are recommended. Various role plays like problem solving, feedback, self-disclosure, confrontation, creating social support network and providing information are important techniques. Varghese, 2009. 3.5 Correctional institutions set UP under the Juvenile Justice, Care, Protection of Children, Act 2000. Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children, Act 2000 considers any person below the age of 16 as child. Person who has acquired the age of 16 but not 18 is considered a minor. JJ, Care and Protection of Children, Act 2000 focuses on two kinds of juveniles. DOR 2008, A. Juveniles in need of care and protection. B. Juveniles in conflict with law. There is distinction between the children in need of care and protection and children in conflict with the law. Children in need of care and protection are the ones who do not have any place of abode and are found begging, working and in conditions of vulnerability. Such children are taken and produced before Child Welfare Committee and later sent to juvenile homes till they attain the age of 18, and efforts are made towards rehabilitating them either into their own family or arranging for adoption, foster care, or sponsorship. If needed, institutionalization of such children is also done, though it is not a very favorable option. Dhor, 2008. Juveniles in conflict with law. These juveniles are identified through regular criminal justice process wherein when a person is caught in some offense, his/her age is verified. If that person happens to be a minor or juvenile, comes under the jurisdiction of JJ Act, Care and Protection of Children, 2000, such a person is produced before special courts which comprises of two social workers apart from one honorary magistrate. Dhor, 2008. The law pertaining to what are now called children in conflict with the law has undergone a few changes. The adjudicating authority has been redesigned as the Juvenile Justice Board, and the composition has changed from an adjudicating authority, which was a magistrate with a panel of two social workers to assist her as prescribed under the old law, to a bench which is composed of two social workers and one magistrate. This change in composition of the adjudicating authority is one of the more significant changes in the new law, as now the space exists for bringing about a change in the very nature of the inquiry. The primary inquiry of whether the child did commit the offense as mandated by a magistrate's training could now be displaced by a social worker's inquiry, which could focus in on why the child committed the offense and how does one redress the same. The shift in composition of the board can bring about a shift in the line of inquiry from intention to motive. Thus, what could change has been referred to as the criminal law mindset itself. This is in effect an important step towards decriminalizing the administration of juvenile justice, provided the rules operationalize the same. Dhor, 2008. Children in need of care and protection. In case of children in need of care and protection, adequate social investigation is done so as to rehabilitate them back to their families. If the families are not found to take care of the children adequately, then other options are sought. Dhor, 2008. The following homes are created under the authority of the Juvenile Justice, Care, Protection of Children, Act 2000. These homes are established and maintained either by the state government or along with voluntary organizations in district or group of districts. Sehgal, 2008. Observation home for boys and girls. Observation homes are meant for temporary reception of any juvenile in conflict with law during the pendency of any inquiry regarding them under this act. Initially, the juvenile is kept in the reception unit for preliminary inquiries, care and classification of juveniles according to age group. Due consideration is given to physical and mental status and degree of the offense committed. These information help in further induction of the juvenile into the observation home. Funds are provided by the state government for the management of the observation homes and for the rehabilitation and social reintegration of a juvenile. 2. Special homes. A juvenile in conflict with law is sent to a special home if the Juvenile Justice Board finds that the child committed an offense upon investigation. The state government can certify any institution other than a home as special home where such institution is fit to be a special home. The fund for the management of the special homes is provided by the state government. 3. Children's home. These homes are established for the reception, care and protection of a child in need of care and protection during the pendency of any inquiry and subsequently for their care, treatment, education, training, development, and rehabilitation of the child. The fund for the management of the children's homes and for the rehabilitation of the children is provided by the state government. The central government or state government may monitor and evaluate the functioning of the children's homes. 4. Shelter homes. These homes function as drop-in centers for the children in the need of care and protection who require urgent support. These homes cater to the care, treatment, education, training, development, and rehabilitation of the child. Any reputed and capable voluntary organization may be recognized and provide assistance to set up and administer shelter homes. Aftercare organization. These organizations are meant for a scheme of after care programs for the purpose of taking care of juveniles or children after they leave the above homes in order to enable them lead an honest, industrious, and useful life. Prior to the discharge of the child or juvenile from a children's home or a special home, a probation officer prepared and submits a report regarding the necessity, nature and period of aftercare and the period of such aftercare. A juvenile or a child can stay in the aftercare organization for 3 years. A juvenile or child over 17 years of age but less than 18 years of age would stay in the aftercare organization till he/she attains the age of 20 years. Role of social worker in juvenile homes, Chapter 4 of the Juvenile Justice, Care Protection of Children, Act 2000 lays emphasis on the concept of rehabilitation and social integration of the child. Thus, there is a great scope for the role of social worker in this act because of its correctional nature. The role of social workers in this setting pertains to identifying the cause of the offense and making necessary recommendations for the rehabilitation of juvenile in conflict with law. Social worker can serve in juvenile homes as well as observation homes by way of group work or social case work with the client. Juvenile, in this case, is helped to develop an understanding of his problem, look at the resources available to him, and involve them in the decision pertaining to them. Involving community in activities of children such as celebration of some important days or cultural activities is also undertaken. Dhar 2008. During the stay of the child in a children's home or special home. The rehabilitation or social reintegration of the child shall be carried out alternatively by 1. Adoption, 2. Foster care, 3. Sponsorship, 4. Sending the child to an aftercare organization to ensure family care to the children. The social worker can play an immense role in preparing the child for the above adoption processes, casework in children's homes. Children who are destitute, orphans, runaways, vulnerable to violence, abuse or moral danger are generally placed in children's homes. Most of these homes operate under the provisions of Juvenile Justice Act and therefore provide custodial care to children for specific time period. Social caseworker is expected to help each inmate adjust to the life within the home and achieve psychosocial development. As the children have often gone through traumatic experiences before they are placed in homes, it is very important for them to come to terms with their life, talk about it, and get over the pain and the sense of betrayal. The worker is expected to provide pastoral care, liaison with schools where children go for education, help children develop positive relationships within the institution, and prepare for life after their stay in the home is over. Group work in juvenile homes, Varghese. 2009, 1. Facilitate adjustment. A social worker can facilitate the adjustment of the child in the home. Group can be used to develop a positive attitude in the inmates. About the agency. The inmate will learn to accept the unavoidable strains of life there and make use of the opportunities available too. Diagnostic understanding. The social worker observes the individual's behavior in a group situation, which helps the social worker in getting data about the inmate, understand his present situation, and plan the inmate's future. 3. Treatment process. The social worker assesses the nature of the inmate relationship with others in the group situation. The value systems that the inmates have are understood and its consequences are known. Through the group process, the inmates receives feedback about his behavior and gains insight into his behavior. Greater self-awareness could be the beginning of the treatment for the inmates. 4. Personality development. The social worker provides opportunities for making choices, self-expression, exhibiting leadership, and participating in activities which in turn could help inmates develop healthier personalities. 3.6 Correctional institutions set UP under the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. Immoral Trafficking Prevention Act deals with prevention of soliciting in public. This law does not render prostitution as a criminal offense per se. If prostitution is carried on in a public place by two or more people, it is punishable. Under this act, two kinds of persons are caught: one who are accused and the other who are victims. Accused are the ones who are touts or pimps or who voluntarily work as sex worker and solicit client at public places or arrange clients for madams. These people are dealt with as per the provision of the act and sent to jail after trial. Another category is of the victims who indulge in sex work under pressure. Such victims are verified for age, and in case of person being minor or juvenile, the case is referred to Child Welfare Committee under Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children, Act 2000, 2008. In case the victim is major, she is sent to protective homes where social workers work towards the rehabilitation of these women. They are sent back to their families or to the ones who claim only after thorough verification. In case the minor is trafficked from neighboring countries, she is handed over to the concerned embassy. 2008. Protective homes and corrective institutions are established and maintained either by the state government or along with voluntary organizations in district or group of districts created under the authority of the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. These homes are meant to give protection to those victims who are in the danger of getting trapped into prostitution or likely to become victims of prostitution. The preventive, curative, and aftercare aspects are taken care of. Any person who is carrying or is being made to carry on prostitution may make an application to the magistrate within the local limits jurisdiction for an order that she may be kept in a protective home or provided care or protection by the court. This law takes care of the victims, irrespective of the fact whether they have violated law or not. For the enforcement of the law, the help of a social worker is taken. The role of the social worker is to help the victim to come out of the trauma and deal with the self-confidence and self-esteem of the client. They also work with the family so as to mobilize their support for the client so that the client can deal in a better manner with his/her problem. 3.7 Correctional institutions set UP under the Bombay Prevention of Beggary Act 1959. According to the Bombay Prevention of Beggary Act 1959, begging is defined as soliciting or receiving alms in a public place. It includes anyone who doesn't have any visible means of subsistence, who wanders about in any public place and lives by soliciting or receiving alms. This broad definition allows the police to arrest anyone who looks poor and unfairly targets those who are houseless and live in public places, such as pavements or parks. A person arrested for begging is presented before the court. If the court is satisfied that the person is not likely to beg again, it may release him/her on a bond. Since there is no free legal aid available for beggars at present, they are unable to defend themselves and a majority of them are convicted. A convicted beggar can be detained in a certified institution for a period of up to 3 years and no less than 1 year. Beggary Act, Chapter 2, Section 5. When a person is convicted for begging for a second or subsequent time, he/she can be detained for a period of up to 10 years. Chapter 2, Subsection 6. 3. Beggars' Home. The convicts are sent to certified institutions, known as beggars' homes. These reform institutions are aimed at providing vocational training and enabling the convict to earn his living after his release. Their actual conditions remain abysmal in this field. The living conditions in these institutions are far from satisfactory and similar to the government-run uninhabitable ran baseras, night shelters, with added burden on the inmates who are treated as convicts detained for a specific period and for a crime. that is embedded in existential circumstances. 3.8 Skills and techniques used in correctional social work. Social work approach in correctional setting implies a philosophy as well as application of techniques for problem solving. Operational philosophy of social work rests on three specific premises. 1. Function of intervention is to target on a problem in social function. 2. Social work conceives problem solving as a partnership activity between social worker and client. 3. Response to the client means most, and equilibrium is best restored at the point of crisis. So, crisis related social work should be emphasized. Some of the important skills and techniques of social work with the clients are counseling. It is a relationship in which one endeavor to help another understand and solve his problem of adjustment. It is distinguished from advice or admonition in that it implies mutual consent. It has as its goal the immediate solution of a personal problem or long-range effort to develop self-understanding and maturity, insight and empathy. Perceptive understanding is required on the part of the social worker who develops insight into the problem of the client offender by empathy. Empathy is a critical ingredient in the therapeutic process, getting into the client's frame of reference. Interviewing is a professional conversation with a purpose. Effective communication is at the heart of positive human interaction. Interviewing is different from intense psychotherapy and counseling. Interview is basic while counseling is the epitome of positive guided interaction. The captive client, here the client because of the constrained setting is captive. Presence during the sessions is not voluntary and somewhat imposed. Hence it is a very responsible process and the whole environment should be light-hearted. There is needed a structured, permissive relationship between the client and interviewer. This relationship should allow the client gain an understanding of himself to a degree which enables him take positive step in the light of a new environment. Stigma and self-esteem. Oxford Dictionary describes stigma as a mark of disgrace. It should be kept in mind that becoming an offender and coming in conflict with law has a deeper impact on the self-esteem of the client, as the society treats them as marginalized and stigmatized. Sometimes the client internalizes the stigma and behaves in a very different way, defensive or abusive. Hence, the social worker has to keep these factors in mind before entering into any kind of intervention with them. 3.9 Role of professional social worker in correctional setting. Social work education is designed to train practitioners to perform a variety of functions in human services settings, including clinical practice, administration, policy, practice, supervision, organizing, advocacy, and research and evaluation. Foundation-level education in social work includes content on work with individuals, families, couples, and small groups, human behavior, community and organizational dynamics, social policy, research and evaluation, social, cultural, and ethnic diversity, and values and ethics. Social work education is unique in its broad approach to human services. An approach that seems to be tailor-made for work with adult and juvenile offenders and with the various components of the juvenile and criminal justice systems. In principle, social workers with advanced training are educated to be able to provide clinical and case management assistance to individual offenders and their families, design, administer, and evaluate programs, supervise staff, and advocate and lobby for legislative and other social change. The role of professional social worker in various correctional settings has been specifically discussed. Broadly, the role of social worker in the correctional settings may take many forms as described below. Rima, 2004. 1. Due process. In criminal justice settings, due process involves protection of clients' legal rights. These legal rights may be pertaining to representation by lawyer, speedy trials, etc. The broader subject of clients' rights, for example, related to privacy and confidentiality, protection from harm and exploitation, and participation in the development of intervention plans has always been central to social work. 2. Diversion, decriminalization, and deinstitutionalization. Social workers must strive towards diversion from the correctional settings to the less formal, community-based programs wherever available and appropriate. 3. Alternatives to the penal system. Development of creative alternatives such as early childhood education, job, vocational training, mediation and restorative justice programs must be facilitated. Mediation programs are often based on the concept of restorative justice. Restorative justice is a framework that provides offenders with an opportunity to right the wrongs for which they are responsible, for example, by making restitution to victims and the community, and by apologizing to victims, and a mechanism to empower victims who wish to confront the offenders responsible for their injuries. 4. Evaluation. The social worker should be aware of the dynamics of the complex factors affecting the offender and influencing his/her action. The full range of background information, including family system, support systems, community support should be reviewed. 5. Direct service providers. Social workers should also be active participants in mediation, alternative dispute resolution, restitution, and conciliation programs. Social workers have both the clinical skills to assume these roles and the values and ideological commitment required to be effective. Social work and social workers should be central to the restorative justice movement.
6. Advocates and reformers. Social work has always embraced and been committed to social justice issues. Social workers are trained to identify and confront injustices through the policy process, protest, and lobbying. Examples of issues that warrant social workers' advocacy and reform efforts include the rights of offenders who have major mental illness, the need for programs designed to facilitate the transition of offenders from institutional to community-based settings, the need to prevent abuse and discrimination in institutional settings, and the legal protection of minors who have been charged and tried in criminal court as adults and sentenced to adult prisons. 7. Administrators and supervisors. Social work education programs typically include an administrative track for those students who wish to pursue this career path. Curriculum content ordinarily includes instruction on program planning, budgeting and financial management, grant writing, personnel issues and staff management, employee evaluation, supervision, leadership, staff development, community relations, and organizational dynamics. Such knowledge and skills are invaluable in a wide range of public and private sector criminal justice settings, such as parole and probation offices, residential treatment programs, and counseling centers. 8. Researchers and program evaluators. Throughout the profession's history, social workers have strengthened their understanding of and commitment to research and program evaluation. Criminal justice programs that were once created, designed, and funded based on faith and good will now require in-depth research and evaluation to justify their existence. Every accredited social work education program provides students with at least foundation-level knowledge and skills related to formulating research and evaluation questions, research and evaluation design, sampling methods, data collection techniques, measurement issues, validity and reliability, research and evaluation ethics, especially protection of human subjects, data analysis, and report preparation. These too are invaluable skills in criminal justice settings, particularly in an era where accountability and empirically based evidence of effectiveness are essential. 9. Provide background information, finding a balance between the rehabilitative potential and issues of public safety. 10. Identifying the client is an important aspect of the social worker's overall education and training. Who the client is, 11. Legal aid. Legal aid and assistance to the weak and downtrodden is a task best suited to the professional social workers in the light of their professional goals, which are committed to the welfare of the poor and needy. Right from promoting legal literacy to giving legal advice in specific cases, a professional social worker's services can be of immense value in bringing our justice system within the reach of the common man. A social worker can give the following inputs among others: make the person aware of legal and constitutional rights and understand the social legal norms and the consequences of their violation, give proper guidance, suggestions, information to chart the future course of action, help in getting quality legal experts, give emotional support, most needed in such situations, build a strong supportive casework relationship and create an atmosphere wherein the person feels free to discuss his problems, frustrations, fears, and anxieties, have a non-judgmental attitude. 12. Instruments of social change. The social worker can focus on range of programs in education, vocational training, and family support because they are likely to be far more effective than the court system. A significant role of the social worker can be as a watchdog and promoter of human rights. She can play the role of an enabler, activist, change agent, counselor, advisor depending on the issue and the needs of the clientele. 3.10 Summary: social work has an important role to play in the correctional settings. It attempts to help the individual, his family, and the community to face and solve delinquency and crime through utilization of individual, family, and community resources. Casework and group work are the basic processes utilized by the social worker in correctional settings. The correctional social worker is given authority in order to change the ways offenders, clients, express values in action. All social workers work with offenders in terms of values. More than any other function, the correctional social worker's task is defined in terms of changing values of the delinquent or criminal so that they become suitable in action with the values of the society. In this unit, you have studied about the philosophy behind correction and types of correctional setting. You have also studied various correctional institutions set up under the Prison Act, 1894, correctional institutions set up under the Juvenile Justice, Care Protection of Children, Act 2000. Correctional institutions set up under the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956 and correctional institutions set up under the Bombay Prevention of Beggary Act, 1959. The role of professional social worker has been highlighted in each of these correctional settings. The unit has also discussed the skills and techniques used by a professional social worker in correctional social work. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.